get it.
You have found our More Podcast, where we want you to know God more deeply, find lasting freedom, discover your destiny, and make an eternal difference. Now,
well, welcome to this week's podcast. Do you wonder why you take the time each week to listen to More Podcasts? Well, let me tell you why. More Podcast stands for maximizing opportunities for right now and eternity. So stop asking yourself why you listen. Just never forget to listen and pass it on. This message was brought to you by the snacks hidden at the back of your pantry, because discovering forgotten cookies is life's little treasure hunt. Right? Yeah. Is that pretty good? You think?
I love that. It's good.
Yeah. Well, here to help me with your weekly dose of more goodness, the only person I know who can claim a black belt in karaoke, Pastor Gary Mindel.
Woohoo! All right, sitting across the table from me, the once super amazing man on a moped who tried to jump the Grand Canyon on a moped.
Yes.
Pastor Alex Norton.
And I've lived to talk about it. Thank you. Woo, woo.
Yes.
Here I am.
I think it just kind of died out in the conceptual 8 stages of the thing.
It just would never make it, you know? Just, I don't know.
Where do you think Knievel got his inspiration?
Oh my gosh. That guy broke so many bones.
Yeah, almost like every one.
I think they said at one time he broke every bone in his body.
I think it was over 100, but yeah.
He's not. Is he dead?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shows how much I pay attention. This week is a stellar week for me. I am completely excited because the new Ahsoka series it's come on the Disney Channel for Star Wars, and so I can't.
You're speaking another language.
Oh, sorry.
No idea what you're talking about.
I'm excited. Those of you out there, you know what I'm talking about, that listen to Star Wars and like Star Wars. So there's new series coming on. So I didn't want to watch it. It came out midnight last night, and I just couldn't stay awake. So I'm going to have to watch it sometime tonight.
Okay.
I'm really pumped about it. Also, today, because it's Wednesday, we have the presidential debates for the Republican Party.
Okay.
And so that's going to be interesting to see what happens. Donald Trump apparently is not going to show up for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I've heard about a million different theories on strategies on that. With good call, bad call, you know.
Yeah.
So
well, actually, he has to show up. He has to show up in at the jailhouse, I guess, for his arraignment. So he's being processed for that, along with former Mayor Giuliani. So that'll be interesting to see that happen this week. Well, in case you were wondering, we finally found the Twitter podcast Twitter.
Okay.
It's More Podcast Now. At Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for us, and then if you got something to say, put it on there. Be encouraging, be nice. But we want to hear from you, and it's a good way for us to get real-time information from you. Some thoughts, some compliments, mostly compliments. But we do have some Twitters that came in today just for the show, and so I wanted to make sure I got these out here. Podcast Addict said, just stumbled upon More Podcast, and now I'm questioning whether my ears were truly living their best lives before. It's like my earbuds found their soulmate. That's pretty good,
Yeah.
Thank you, Podcast Addict. Podcast Obsessed. Start listening to the More Podcast, and suddenly my daily commute is a nonstop roller coaster of knowledge, laughter, and strange but wonderful facts. Highly recommend the More Podcast. And then the last one here is tuned into the More Podcast for the first time and ended up binge listening until 2 a.m. It's like the best sleepover with friends who just happen to be hilarious and incredibly smart. Late night listening.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge compliment to you.
That's I don't know what the sleepover part I'm kind of a little concerned about, but yeah, I get it. All right, well, Pastor Gary, so what's been going on with you?
Well, amazing week this week. Of course, having the vision service outdoors was great, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But we're in the middle of some projects. Actually, we put the nail in the coffin on a couple of them so that they're all wrapped up, packaged up, and ready to go.
Yeah.
And we started a new one this morning. So Brian Budnick, my sidekick there, out there, we came up with a new project, and so we got it all laid out, and he should be getting after it here pretty quick.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I know you're tired, but you really seem to thrive when it comes to these kind of projects.
Yeah, I am definitely a task-oriented person.
Yeah.
For sure. And so I can really get geared up for doing things, and I love to check things off the list.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I'm with
I'll
you.
add it to the list, then check it right off.
We were talking about that at staff meeting yesterday about how a lot of us are list makers and we like to check boxes and get them done. And even stuff that we've completed, we put on the list so we can check it off just for the sheer joy of checking something off.
And then telling people about it.
Yeah. And then like, hey, let me tell you something about it. Well, what's this project?
Well, we used to have a storage area out on the north wing, but when we put on the Solid Rock Center, connector, we lost that storage space, and so we're adding a new storage space back in under the east wing overhang.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it'll be a 20-foot. You know where the golf shed is?
Yeah.
Okay, it'll be the mirror right on the other side of the golf shed.
Oh, good.
I haven't come up with a name for it quite yet, but it'll be a 20-foot storage area. We're going to put a garage door on this one, a roll-out garage door, so that we can wheel in storage carts for tables and chairs.
Very nice. Yeah, I like that.
Pretty excited.
Changing it up from the other side, which is just the door, and then you put. Yeah, I like that idea. Well, we can hide a lot of stuff in there, couldn't we? Mm-hmm. Which we don't want to do.
We don't. I like to have everything in its place,
right?
And everything has a space, and so it'll be pretty cool. We're pretty excited.
It seems to be one of our big issues a lot of times on staff.
It is.
There seems like people bring us stuff, we get stuff, and then we have to figure out where to put the stuff.
Yeah, we at Harbor Light, we just maximize every square inch.
Yeah,
and with that, sometimes storage is at the bottom of the heap.
Yeah,
and so being able to keep things where they need to be is always at the important place for us to be able to create.
Yeah, right. And then we sometimes have to file it in the big drawer in the back, and
the big drawer that they haul away every month.
They haul away and get rid of. Not saying that anything you've brought, if you're listening, we've thrown away, but there have been some stuff we've thrown away.
Yep. Somebody threw away something someone donated, and then they saw it in the dumpster.
Oh,
and they
no.
dug in there, got it out.
Did they really?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. A while back, this is a long time ago, but a while back, I had 5 walkers.
Yeah.
People use to walk around, and I'm like trying to give them to anybody, the senior center, other hospital. Nobody wants them. Nobody was going to touch them. Mm-hmm. And so I put them in there, and my wife's like, that's just such a waste to get rid of these walkers. I went back the next day and they were gone.
Somebody got them, huh?
Somebody took all of them out of there. I wish I would have known that person
Probably
ahead of time.
The scrappers.
Yeah, probably. But it was all these walkers in there.
One time I had a broken leg and I had to get some crutches, and so I didn't want to buy a new one. So I went over to the Friendship Center.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to rent them. And they opened up the storage. They had a storage shed.
Yeah.
They opened up the storage shed with all the crutches in there. And they're like, here, these are the best. And they gave me like the super deluxe ones. And I'm like, well, how much are they to rent? They're like, please just don't bring them back.
We don't want you to rent them.
Right, just take them.
Yeah, I know. It was funny in the Salvation Army. The big thing that we always got was adult diapers.
Oh.
And we would get cases and cases and cases of adult diapers from the hospital, from senior centers, from rest homes. And we would beg people, use them for your dog, use them for your cat, use them for anything you possibly can think of. Please.
Yeah.
Just take these.
At Harbor Light one time we had 3 Rascals, those battery operated.
Oh,
carts.
yeah,
We had
yeah.
3 of those. So when people weren't watching, we race them around every once in a while. We got those out to some new homes, but we had 3 Rascals at
That is
at
awesome.
a time.
Yeah. That'd been fun. Well, last night, about 9:45, my wife and I went to Lowe's.
Okay.
Because I've got an interesting text from my son. He got himself a little work crew together, and they surprised us. They started putting the floor down in our house.
Nice.
And so, I got one room done, which is a family closet.
Yeah.
So he took pictures of it, and he's like, hey, look at what's going on in your house. And I'm like, that's our bedroom. And he's laying down the floor with his buddy Nacho, who's a friend of Neil Tibetan.
Okay.
And it was total surprise. Nice. So we had to go get some more flooring last night. So as I'm getting out of the car, because I had to drive his car, and if you know his car, it's real small. Mm-hmm. And I stepped out with my left leg, and it did not hold me.
Oh, no.
So I went head first into the rail for the carts.
Oh.
And I'm laying there, sort of on the rail, and I'm like, I cannot believe this just happened.
Wow.
And my wife's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just, let me upright myself. But it was the weirdest thing. I just stepped out on my left leg, not thinking about it, because I've been walking around on it.
Sure.
So as long as I'm walking around, I'm fine. But it just would not lift me out of the car.
Wow.
So that was a fun time. So I'm limping around Lowe's, and they were getting ready to close. And so by the time we got everything done and we got it to the car, had about 3 or 4 guys from Lowe's like loading in our car because they want to leave.
Right.
But I'm like, this is great. Thank you. I appreciate it. So thank you, Lowe's, for your help.
Plan.
Yeah, I was. I thought it was great, and so that was my time last night. Okay, so we got some thoughts for the weekend. We're always trying to give you something interesting to think about and talk about, and boy, do I have some great topics for you to raise around the barbecue. I know we're getting closer to fall, and it's getting to that point where things are going to start moving in that direction. So maybe around the bonfire more than anything else now.
Okay.
So this just hit AP News. There was a T-Rex racing that happened over the weekend. I don't know if you knew that or not. T-Rex racing.
I'm very interested because tonight our study, the Wednesday Night Live, is on dinosaurs.
It's on
the Bible.
dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, you might want to use this story. Apparently, 200 people took over a horse track for the annual T-Rex Fun Run in Auburn, Washington. This year, it was a photo finish by a claw as the contestants ran around the track in inflatable costumes that were T-Rex. You ever seen those before?
I have.
Yeah. So they ran around. No one was hurt except for some hometown pride because somebody outside of Washington won the award. Kim from Hawaii ran the 100 yards and beat her closest rival by an inflatable claw.
Wow.
It was a picture finish.
Wow.
And it's funny to watch these guys running around because if you've seen those things, they make you like 9 feet tall.
Yep.
I don't know how you see all those things, but they ran around and it was just it seemed like a fun activity.
That's great.
Yeah. It might be worth maybe trying it here. I
wonder if maybe I should wear one of those when I teach class tonight.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That would be fun, wouldn't it?
That Halloween store's open.
Yeah, but don't we know someone who has one of these?
I don't know.
All right.
You might have to put it out there, but
yeah,
it might be worth you investing in your talk by getting one.
I got my shirt on.
You have that shirt? Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you walked out there and started talking in that outfit,
it would be great.
I think my class would clear out and come over to see what's going on there.
That's
because coffee and donuts is not going to hold them. When you got a T-Rex running around. Okay, so another story from AP News is unexpected power outages in New Jersey last week. This is an interesting story because the power outages are not normal for this area, and if they do happen, it's usually really bad. But this situation, apparently the power outage that cut electricity to the New Jersey community a week ago was due to an unlikely culprit. A fish that was apparently dropped by a bird landed on a transformer and caused it to blow. And so officials said that a large part of the community was out of power for quite a few hours because they had to figure out what the heck was going on.
Okay.
And then they got in there and they found a fish laying somehow on the transformer that caused it to blow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know? I mean, terrorists should not know that kind of stuff.
Yeah. About two summers ago, we had a little infestation of red squirrels.
Yeah.
And this is before I knew the critter commander was on call. But so we took out about 9 or 10 of them with rat traps.
Yeah.
And then one of them was so smart, we could not catch him.
Yeah.
And then about a week later, we hear a giant pop and all the power went out and he had gotten himself up in the transformer.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not joking. And then when the electric power guys came out, they're like, red squirrel.
Oh,
so
no way.
That one got it.
He's dead.
Yeah.
No more for him. When we were working on our house and my father-in-law was over there doing the what do you call it, the breaker box. He opened it up and there was a mouse that had bitten into a wire and died in there at some point. But the power was so strong that he hit that he was sticking out straight out from the wire, and all of his legs and everything were sticking out. Yeah,
that's cool.
And my father-in-law actually had to use pliers to get his mouth off of the wire to get him out of there. And he's like, "You want this?" I'm like, "No, we don't want it." And I kept it around for a little bit to scare Amy, but. So, you know what? I guess a fish can cause a power outage, and apparently it happened in New Jersey. This last one is kind of interesting, but also kind of scary in a way. Robot takes podium as orchestra conductor in Seoul, Korea. An android robot named Ever6 took the conductor's podium in Seoul on Friday evening to lead a performance by South Korea's National Orchestra, marking the first such attempt in the country. The two-arm robot, designed by the Korea Institute of Industrial Technology, made its debut at the National Theater of Korea, leading musicians in the country's national orchestra. The robot, with a humanoid face, first bowed to the audience and started waving its arms to control the tempo of the live show. The conductor said movements by a conductor are very detailed. Choi Soo-yeol, I think I'm saying that right, who led Friday's performance alongside the robot, said the robot was able to present such detailed moves much better than I had imagined.
Wow.
That's weird.
Yeah.
A robot leading an orchestra. The funny part was I kept reading the article, and apparently the robot couldn't hear anything.
Really?
So what it was doing was somehow was watching movements or knew something.
Had a built-in metronome, right?
Yeah, and probably could read music. So it was reading the music, but it wasn't able to hear. They didn't have had it set up for hearing. But can you imagine, that situation where you got a robot leading one of the top orchestras in the world, and I guess this guy said it was better than sometimes what he does.
Wow, that's great.
That's great. I mean, it just makes me nervous. These AI robots and stuff are starting to move in a little bit too close to home. Well, that's some of the news that you can use around the fire pit or around the barbecue. Enjoy these topics, have fun with them. But I think these are kind of weird. I think some of us should probably get some T-Rex racing outfits and get out there and have some fun. We have a track around here, don't we? Over at the fairgrounds, like a track. Yeah, we could use that one. Maybe we should make an anonymous comment, to their website and say, hey, you know what, T-Rexing racing might be a new thing to start. We'll be back after this break.
Get some more, yeah. Get some more, get some more, yeah. Get some more, yeah. More coming at ya.
Well, we just got some more tweets coming in, Pastor Gary. These are some interesting ones, too. Podcast Love wrote, the More podcast is like having a backstage pass to the most entertaining conversations I learned, and now I can't stop telling everyone about it.
Well,
that's pretty good.
Working.
Yeah,
your little discussion thing's working.
Yeah, I think so. Another one here came in. I've officially become a walking encyclopedia of random facts, all thanks to the More podcast. See, those stories are coming out.
Yeah.
My friends are baffled by my newfound ability to drop knowledge bombs at every turn. See? Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is making an impact. People are actually, finding ways to use those stories. And this is the last one. Listening to the More podcast is like having a personal comedy club and TED Talk session rolled into one. Whoever said you can't laugh and learn simultaneously clearly hasn't heard this gem. Best of both worlds.
Man, that's some really good stuff.
I think that's pretty good. I think, we're making headway.
Yeah.
Well, I told you that a couple weeks ago, we had 1,300 downloads of our podcast in 1 week. Mm-hmm. So something's happening,
right?
I think
it's probably some of those connections you made with those other, websites and podcasts, and then you got us on there, and so people are probably tapping in,
just seeing what's going on there,
right?
I got it. It was interesting. I was talking to somebody last weekend, and they were telling me that somebody doesn't go to our church but lives in Gaylord, listens to our More podcast all the time. It's a retired vet, and they just happened to hear about it. This person told them about it, and they said they love it. They listen to it every day when they do their workouts.
Nice.
So they're going through our whole
archive.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. The archive. Yeah, to talk about, and they said they just love how we're willing to put the Bible with funny and being real and stuff.
Wouldn't it be great if somebody actually downloaded all of our first season and we would give them like $100 if they were to turn that in, because we lost our whole archive on the first season. So I'd give $100 for anybody that could come up with all the episodes in season 1.
That'd be great. Yeah, because there's like, how many do we do? Like 15?
Oh yeah, more than that.
More than that, you think? Yeah, we had a whole year's worth that got lost with that previous company that we worked with.
Yep.
That produced our
So that's
podcast.
official. I'd give $100. $100 for anybody who gives me all the episodes from season 1.
Wow, that's pretty good. So these are not gospel bucks. These are like
These
real.
are real bucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, okay. All right.
And nowadays, I mean, for $100, you could probably get yourself a bag of chips and a pop,
yeah.
but it's worth it.
I like that idea. I think that's
Okay.
going to be good. I think we should definitely.
It's official. It's out there.
Okay, it's out
$100.
there. So
Archive retrieval, $100.
archive retrieval. We'll be right back.
Discover the magic of transforming spaces with Sean Meyer Construction. From visionary designs to impeccable craftsmanship, we're your partner in creating remarkable homes. If you're looking for a contractor to do the right thing at the right time for the right price, let him build your dream together. Contact Sean Meyer Construction. Get Rapture ready with your favorite host today, Pastor Gary and Pastor Alex Norton, as they come to you with information that you need to make it through the times coming ahead and more. Yeah. Come on, you groovy cats. Get up and dance.
Hey, you know what I want to do?
Yeah.
Right before we go into the Rapture talk right there?
Yeah.
I want to make a spoof of the More podcast from that new the Oliver Anthony song.
Oh, yeah.
Are you familiar with that song?
Yeah, yeah. The guy that sings about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should make a spoof of our show from that tune.
I like that.
Do you think we can do that?
I can work on it. Yeah. I think we could.
I think we'd do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a simple enough song as far as the.
Right.
Yeah.
You should be able to do that.
I think I should write a spoof of that and then get down and do it. Yeah. I like that idea. Okay. I'll work on that and we'll put that out there.
He's number
debut.
1 on the Billboard charts.
Yeah. Did you hear he was offered $8 million?
Yeah, I heard that.
And he turned it down.
Right.
And said, I don't want to get into the business.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, I play locally and do all this stuff. That's all that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a family man. I want to be with my family and all this other stuff. I'm like, that was really cool. And people are like shocked that this guy would turn down $8 million.
Yeah. And I heard on the news last night that there are people on the other side that are criticizing him now and, trying to get him canceled. And
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Because
It's called jealousy.
and he's talking about what the current situation is
Yeah.
and people don't want to hear it.
That's right.
Okay, so in Rapture Ready News, we got an interesting story here. 14 American cities have aimed to ban meat, dairy, private cars by 2030. This is coming from Red State News reports. I guess according to the article, 14 major American cities are part of a globalist climate organization known as the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group, which has an ambitious target by the year 2030 to get rid of all meat consumption, all dairy consumption. And they also added to this list 3 new clothing items per person per year are going to be allowed under this statement. Private vehicles will not be owned anymore, and short haul return flights. So you can't get on the plane and just go wherever you want. They're going to try to ban that. But you are allowed to do 3 a year per person. That's according to this. C40's dystopian goals can be found in the future of urban consumption in a 1.5 degree world report, which was published in 2019, but then was just now reemphasized in 2023 at their conference. And the conference apparently is a bunch of really uber wealthy people that are in this. The organization is headed and largely funded by Democrat billionaire Michael Bloomberg. No surprise there. Nearly 100 cities across the world make up this organization, and the American cities that are members of this are Austin, Texas, Boston, Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, Miami, New Orleans, New York, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Portland, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and Seattle. Do you notice a trend there on that list?
Aren't these all sanctuary cities too?
Yes.
Interesting.
All blue cities, all sanctuary cities, and all cities with major problems. Mm-hmm. And so they want to ban. I mean, what does that even do?
There's no freedom
Right.
in this approach to things. There's no individual freedom.
None. I mean, banning meat consumption. I mean, come on. I mean, oh my gosh. I was thinking about that. I was reading that to my wife, and I thought that is ridiculous. And it's all because they think that the more animals we produce, that
I don't know if I mentioned this on the show before, but apparently cows are the number one, problem with climate change.
Yeah.
Cows, right?
Yeah.
What happens? What happened when we had 30 million buffalo running around, which is basically a big cow.
Right. Yeah.
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 Well, why didn't we have problems when we had 30 million of those? And
right. When did that happen? Well, nobody was here to actually write it down. Yeah. That's the problem. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But, the other thing, too, is we keep talking about this climate change. And there's a funny little meme that's out there by Babylon News that the hurricane that hit California, before the hurricane, they were talking about how climate change was causing all these wildfires. And now the hurricane's coming and they're getting all this rain that they haven't had in a while. And so that's climate change. You can't win.
Yeah.
You cannot win with these arguments.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what you do. Everything seems to be associated with something that's not really verifiable or scientific, which you're bringing up in your class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just seems like one thing after another. I guess this is a concern in a way that, as Christians, we're going to be moving into a time where these kind of things are going to be becoming more and more a part of the conversation in our country. And, definitely we need to pray about it. But I mean, again, like we said many times before, there's going to be a time we're going to have to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, listen, you're not taking my chickens. I'm going to grow chickens and have eggs. And, I personally refuse to give up my gas vehicle. I will not buy electric car. I mean, after all the things I've seen there's been like 2 years on the internet about those Teslas blowing up in people's garages because the battery faulted somehow or whatever it is. And then they have never been able to make a vehicle that can haul a camper. That new Ford truck that came out the last year, they're talking about how this is going to be the amazing thing. And Consumer Report, used one and they hauled just a small camper and they were only able to go 90 miles before they had to recharge. And then when they got to wherever they were going, there's nowhere to recharge it.
Right.
So you're stuck. You're stuck in the middle of nowhere with this truck that's supposed to be the next thing that's supposed to advance us. I'm not into it. Are you willing to give up your gas vehicle?
No.
You're going to hold on to it.
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
I drive a 1950 Chevy truck. I definitely hold on to things.
Well, you're a rebel, You're the person that they're coming after because you just won't give up that stuff. Yeah. And then, all these people that have cows and chickens and everything else. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It takes away the ability for us as human beings to survive on our own and not be.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
You seem to have identified what the plan is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. To be totally.
Dependence.
Yeah. Complete dependence on.
And when the word dependence is spelled CONTROL.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's your Rapture Rate news. Be praying for that. I don't know. 2030 seems like a long ways away, but it's only a few years.
7 years.
7 years away. Yeah.
Away.
So we're getting to that point where some of those things might come online. I don't know. These cities, I don't like to go to any of these cities. I used to live in Chicago and it was expensive to begin with before any of this stuff happened. Just to imagine that this kind of garbage is going to happen. I don't know. I just think this is just nuts. Well, that's your Rapture Ready news and we'll be right back.
The More Podcast want you to know God more deeply, find lasting freedom, discover your destiny, and make an eternal difference. You're listening to More Podcast.
Yeah, that was a good point you made last segment.
Yeah.
About the buffaloes. I never thought about that. Yeah. I mean, how many animals were running around prior to this?
Right. And they were all pooping in the woods.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gassing us out. And still, somehow, the world, made it happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, just makes you think about a lot of things. What are these people trying to do here? Well, we're Harbor Light Bible Trivia. We've got some people that answered the last week's question. Some of those were Shelley Dale, Ben Butnick, Leslie Butnick again, and then Alan Kabinsky. Yeah. Sorry, Alan. Sometimes I get a little tongue-tied on some of these names. Alan K. He won. So you got swag waiting for you when you get to church on Sunday. Last week, sorry, I didn't put the swag up because we're out in the tent. It would be kind of weird to try to set up a special table for that, but it'll be here, and you can go through it and get your swag for answering the question correctly. But if you're willing to answer the question and send it in to us, you can send it to harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, all lowercase, and let us know what your answer is. And I promise, we have said this before, we will not say anything bad about you or make fun of you. At least not all of you. Ben usually is one of the topics, but we won't make fun of you. And we promise that, we'll have some swag for you. It's one of our many gifts that we give to our listeners when they answer that question. So last week's question, do you remember?
I do.
Yes. What was it?
It's what's the one thing that you're supposed to do with the vision or goal that God gives you according to Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 2.
Oh, that's right.
Habakkuk.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you did talk about it in your sermon.
I did.
So again, you could have gotten the answer.
Just coming to church.
Yeah, coming to church. Oh,
coming to church is like a swag guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you will find out at some point
right.
what it means.
We like to do what's called stacking the dominoes,
Right.
Ask the question on the board, come to church, get the answer, get your swag. That's just like,
Yeah.
everything's moving in your direction.
So if you do that, you will find out the answer.
Yeah.
Or you can watch it on YouTube because it does get posted there. So Pastor Gary, what is the question for this week? This is the last one before we do the big drawing.
Well, did you want me to give the answer then?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, the answer was write the vision down and make it plain on tablets or on a piece of paper. So write down what God told you to do.
Yes.
What is the goal? What is the thing that you need to get accomplished?
Right.
And you need to write it down and make it simple on a piece of paper. That's the instructions.
Yeah.
Okay?
Do you get it?
There you go.
There you go. Write it down. So the question for this week, what do we got?
Okay, so the question for this week, setting up, of course, the sermon that's coming up.
Yes.
We are going to be talking about culture. And so tell me what it was like at the time. What was culture like at the time of the flood?
Oh.
Okay, so I think if you go to Genesis chapter 6, you should be able to nail what the culture was like.
Genesis chapter 6.
It's found in actually about 2 or 3 different places in the scripture. It'll define it for you, but there's like a little key phrase that we're looking for. But what was it like at the time of the flood in culture?
There's the reference, obviously, in the Old Testament. You could look in the New Testament because Peter talks about it. Mm-hmm. So you got a few places that you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. I think for this question, we would take pretty much any description as long as it includes, certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to find that phrase.
Try to find the phrase in the Old Testament.
Do you want me to give it a little hint, or am I?
You do whatever you want. Yeah.
Right. Is it too vague? Do you feel?
No, I think it's good. Yeah.
All right. I'll just leave it there then.
All right. And so we will take an answer as long as it comes even close to what was going on there. And maybe cite your reference, like where you got it from. Like it's not just something you're like heard from Sunday school and you remember it now. But you can send that answer to harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, all lowercase. And next week we will be drawing for the big prize.
Okay.
And remember, we have the speaker.
Yep.
And we also have the Toby Mac CD.
Right.
But also, I just got a whole bunch of brand new CDs in the package that I can give away too. So there's other swag available.
Okay.
So I don't know who even uses CDs anymore, but
I was just going to ask that question, but
somebody does.
Okay.
I mean, some cars still have it.
Yeah.
To me, it seems kind of it kind of defeats the purpose now with the technology we have. Because
just think, you and I are both doing a class for Wednesday Night Live right now, and just finding a DVD player
was
a challenge.
Right. Yeah. That was so funny because when I was telling you about, we got the DVD player for your class.
Yeah.
And I had bought one, and I still have it for $9 at Walmart.
Right.
Now, if you remember when those all those DVD players came out, I mean, they're like $300-$400. They could do everything from slicing bread to cooking your dinner. But now you get one for $9. That's how obsolete they've become.
Yeah.
Over, I'm just like, if anything says that you're getting old, those are the kind of things that happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you tell your kids, "Hey, I was around when the internet started." That one blows their mind.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see a teenager go, "What?"
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a time when internet did not exist. Well, we're going to take an ID break and we'll be right back and get ready to do Bible Talk.
The Dam Side Inn is an historic restaurant located in Pellston, Michigan. Nestled next to the North's most scenic majesty, it offers a picturesque setting and a charming ambiance. The restaurant serves a delicious array of old country dining with its rustic charm and scenic surroundings, making the Damn Side Inn at 6705 Woodland Road, Pellston, your next stop to make memories as a family for generations to come. The Damn Side Inn.
Well, last week it was a joint service under the big tent, and hopefully you were there to enjoy it with the rest of us. We spent an amazing time in worship talking about all the things that God has done and where he's taking us in the future. And we got to hear a lot about our church's history and how we started and all the amazing things that God orchestrated to bring about what we see today. And, it started in a home. And eventually went from a home to a church building to where we have it now. And so sometimes we don't always realize how amazing God is, but over 40 years, he's definitely blessed this ministry, and he continues to bless us. It's pretty obvious when we see what God's doing in our midst right now. But we wanted to talk about this idea of vision casting, and Pastor Gary did a very good job, obviously, on Sunday to vision cast for our church. But, there are some key things we want to go over again to kind of highlight what that vision casting was about. And so we want to look at, 6 key elements to how vision casting is helping our church from Pastor Gary. And, if you've never heard that term before, basically it's a prayerful response to what God's laid on his heart. And he begins to share that information with us as our lead pastor, to lead us into the future of what we're doing. And so it's important for us to know this stuff. It's important for us to hear it because we want to be on board. We're not just an island of one person. We're a community. And so sometimes the leader has to let the community know, hey, this is where we're going and this is what God's laid on our heart. And so it's a great thing when we get to hear these moments and get to hear Pastor Gary's heart. And also, the prayerful heart of the elders that are a part of our church that lead this church as well. So, Pastor Gary, I want to start out with this concept of who we are as a church. What is Harbor Light? What are we?
That's an excellent question. So it was really fun to put together the little calendar looking back at what happened starting in 1977. But then it was really kind of fun to kind of hunker down a little bit and think through some of the values, because there are some organizations that do good at putting out their values, and we have core values here at Harbor Light as a staff.
Yeah.
But what are the core values? What are those really essential things that you just can't get away from, that make up Harbor Light and what makes it kind of special and unique versus any of the other places around? One of them is the authentic, passionate worship experience. Harbor Light started out right from the beginning, not being a hymn singing church, but a chorus singing church, or praise
Jesus.
and worship. Yeah. And that was really kind of cutting edge at that particular time. Then the other thing was that we believe in the full gospel. We believe in the power of Holy Spirit and the gifts of the Spirit being enacted today, but without being weird, right?
Right.
We didn't want to do, there were maybe 2 or 3 other kind of full gospel or charismatic churches in northern Michigan at that time, but they had some internal stuff going on that kind of made it, it just didn't bring a lot of glory to the Lord, I think.
It was odd.
Or at least my dad, that's what he felt. So we wanted to be that church that believed in the full gospel, full power of the Holy Spirit without being weird. And then also that we preached good, practical, applicable sermons, powerful and very practical messages. And my dad was an excellent communicator of God's word, and people gained tons and tons of information. People fell in love with the Bible. Those were probably the big 3. Some of the other core values, we've always been kind of like a church that didn't let hurdles get in the way, right? Obstacles weren't to be sides. We just went over them. Right? And we didn't let anything stand in the way of the gospel. And so that's been a very practical thing. Sometimes, even starting your church in a house, that's a very practical thing. My dad's first pulpit, he didn't have a pulpit. He had a fish stand. He had a fish stand that he put a board on, a TV tray on top of it, and that was the first pulpit.
That is awesome.
So just very, very practical people, didn't let things stand in the way. And the fact that everyone was welcome. Yeah. Everyone was encouraged to be here. It didn't matter you didn't have to dress up to come to Harbor Light, even from the very beginning.
Right.
And you come as you are. That was even before it was popular to say those kind of things. We had people that, had been excommunicated from certain churches because they had been divorced. One of our first elders was a man who had been divorced before Christ, accepted Jesus, and he was actually an elder. So just powerful things like that. And then we did missions from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Before our church even had a building, we went on a mission trip to Mexico and built a building for another church in another country.
That was a powerful story when you shared that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
Before our church was even going.
Yep. Before we had
Yeah.
a church, we built a church somewhere else.
So,
And, you planting seeds.
Yeah. I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yep. So I would say, one of our key phrases was to win, train, and send.
Yeah.
Since I became a senior pastor, we just added one little word to that. It's win, heal, train, and send. We want to win people to Jesus,
Yeah.
get them healed up from their past experiences, then train them up and send them out so that they can be effective in the gospel.
Yeah, definitely. I see that a lot. Other core values that I see that you're talking about was, this idea of fellowship is a crucial part of our ministry here.
Yes.
We provide all kinds of ways for people to have fellowship. Discipleship is one of our things as well. We don't just get you saved, but we want to be a part of the long-term investment. The ministry obviously is important, and evangelism. What's that sign that's outside the door as you get ready to leave? You're now entering your missions field, right?
Yep.
So that's always been a core value, and that's something I don't know if I ever told you this, but every church that I pastored in, I put that sign up over the door.
Oh, really?
Made my own, yeah.
Okay.
And I always said, I got it from my home church. This is where I got the phrase from, and I always put it out everywhere. And my wife and I, we would preach sermons about it, talk about it. That this is an important core value for us as pastors in our own ministry. That you don't just come to church to sit and take in, but you're to take it out and go and share it with other people. So that's been an important aspect of our ministry. But it's good to know that that's who we are. And I think it's good for people that are listening to our podcast to know that, Harbor Light is an anomaly in this area. It's an anomaly in the sense that we have been able to grow like we have in such an unpopulated area. It's not normal to have that many people come into your church in a community that's the size that it is. And statistically, it doesn't make sense. But we find out that, for whatever reason, God keeps blessing us and bringing people in, and people are becoming active parts of their community. You look at who Harbor Light is, you start looking at the people, and you realize that we have influences in a lot of different levels of our community. And so that's an amazing thing to have in a church. You don't normally have that. Normally you only have maybe one cultural group that's a part of the church, but here it seems like we have a wide spectrum of people that are part of this community. So that's who we are.
Yeah.
So Pastor Gary, here's the next question. Well,
Sure.
If we're vision casting about this church, where are we going to be going?
Well, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that, Pastor Alex. And after spending some time with the elders and praying, and without getting away from our core values at all, we really believe that the Lord wants us to focus in on our young people, our youth ministry, which includes children's ministry and our youth ministry. We've done a ton for our Christian school, and we believe that's important because that's our big outreach to the other parts of our community. We have more than 25 different churches that send some of their students to make up our student body here at Harbor Light Christian School. That's super awesome. We've invested a ton there, but we really feel like it's time for us to invest in the youth ministry at a whole, because young people are the target that the enemy is trying to take down. You look back all throughout history, even go back to Nazi Germany, right? It was the young people who were under attack, and they're the ones that were trying to be brought in. Isn't it amazing how dictators know how important young people are? So we believe that God's called us to make some investment, personal investment, capital, some energy into the youth ministry to come alongside Pastor Matt and Chelsea Robertson and what they're doing here at Harbor Light.
Yeah, and you've seen the same articles I have from Barna that, if a church is not willing to invest in its youth, then they're not going to be around.
Exactly.
In
they're
about
becoming
10 years,
extinct
20 years,
even in the moment. So one of the things I appreciate about Harbor Light, not knocking anybody else, but you can kind of peek in the window at most churches on a Sunday morning, and there's a lot of silver-haired people sitting in the pews. We love silver-haired people. I really, really appreciate, and we commented on that on Sunday morning, right?
Yeah.
How important it is to ask our older people the way to go.
Yeah.
But you look out, and there's a good peppered, we have people of all ages here at Harbor Light, young families especially, and we really want to come alongside them because they're in the trenches and they are raising up their children now in a place where it is full on attack on young people.
I think it's very healthy in our church to see that we have so many baby dedications. It just seems like we definitely have young families. We have the teens and all that stuff, and then we do have the people of the silver hair variety. But that's very important for our church to have that kind of variety in its community, because we need the wisdom as well as we need the young strength and influence that we have. So, it kind of answered a little bit, but, why are we going there? Why did you, other than what you've already said, why did you see this as being the priority? Why did the elders see this as a priority more than anything else? Because there's a lot of things we could look at, right? I mean, as our church is growing and things are going on, it's interesting that you kind of settled and focused on that.
Right. I think it's important because the fact is that most people, middle-aged or, young adults and middle-aged, even up into our senior, well-experienced years, we've got our faith. We're pretty solid. But our young people, it's still a maturing process. It's still their faith hasn't become their own yet.
Yeah.
And so we've got to lay down a super heavy-duty foundation so that when the onslaught comes, that they will return back. As the Bible says, it's a promise, or it's a principle, train up a child in the way he'll go, and when he's older, he will not depart from it. That says, listen, lay down a super strong foundation so that when they're older, they will know where to turn back to. And one of our theme verses, of course, for this year is Jeremiah 6:16, and that's an important verse. I think it even kind of comes alongside this, and it says, this is what the Lord says: stop at the crossroads and look around. Ask for the old godly way and walk in it. Travel in its path, and you will find rest for your souls. So that's our theme verse for the year. And that says, listen, young people are going to come to a crossroad, and they're going to have a decision to make.
Yeah.
And if they have the ability to look down the road a little ways because of their past, they can look down the road and say, boy, that isn't the direction I want to go, or this is the direction I want to go. And then they're going to travel that path. They're going to walk in it. So we believe it's super important for us to lay down that foundation in the most creative ways we can, the most engaging ways we can, the most critical thinking ways we want. We want to teach our young people how to think, not what to think, but how to think. And that's going to be important for us, that we do that in a way that's going to take resources and people and energy and vision and direction to be able to get that accomplished.
I think that's just amazing when you're talking about, because you look at the legacy of your ministry in youth. I'm an example of that. I was in your youth group, and here I am, back. So, I mean, that truth that you just brought out in Proverbs, that is so important to realize, that the effect is long. It's long game. You invest now, you reap the benefits later, and it may take some time, but it's amazing. We see the legacy investments that have happened in years past are coming back now to invest again back in the church, to be a part of the growing community.
I see this. I've told Pastor Matt and Chelsea both of this all throughout their careers as well. You're a seed planter. You're planting tons and tons of seed. Yeah. Right. And sometimes you'll see some come to harvest quickly, but most it's after they have a child of their own. They get married, they have a kid, they realize that kid's going to spend eternity somewhere, and they seem to come back to their foundation roots, right? To ask for the old way and to walk in that. And so that's what we see. So we don't get discouraged when we just plant a lot of seeds, because we know there's a big harvest coming in the future.
And I think that's a great testimony when you look around and you see that happening. It should be, for you, to see that all these people that were a part of your youth group as kids are now coming back to invest in the ministry.
Absolutely.
Which is so important. And I think that again is an anomaly in a church. A lot of times kids move out and they don't ever come back, and they're part of another community.
I think that's really kind of a special thing. And I thank the Lord for this. I've been in this ministry since the day it opened. Of course, my dad was our founding pastor, but of course I've been on staff for 37 years. Yeah. I was a youth pastor here for 11. And so youth get me excited. I love ministering to young people. I love hanging out with them and having a great time. And it's always been an important core value that we had. We had youth group right from the get-go, at Harbor Light. And so now that's part of who I am, and that's a part of who we are together. And so it's exciting to be able to have that longevity. So the things that are important to me, I can make sure that we get pointed back in the right direction. A lot of churches, get focused at the people with the money in their pocket, right? Yeah. Young people don't have money in their pocket. Right. Yeah. They take money out of your pocket.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but we want to focus on those people that need our time, talent, and treasures to be able to help them grow. And so now getting the people with the money in their pocket to focus back there with me is our goal.
Yeah. Well, some of those seeds you planted, maybe you weren't, maybe you're hoping they weren't going to grow, but here we are. Hey, welcome. Yeah, there we are. So the question is, what it feels like to be going where we're going. What are some things that we should begin to expect to experience as we're moving forward as the church?
Well, of course, you're going to hear about it a lot more.
Yeah.
Vision leaks out about every 25, 24 days. And so you should hear about it every month. We're going to be able to bring some kind of a spotlight and some kind of emphasis to what God's calling us to. But also you're going to start seeing us talk about those practical things like building, equipment, personnel. You know, I believe that this is going to take some more people coming on staff to come alongside Pastor Matt and Chelsea, and to see some people kind of pick up that. And so you're going to see more staff coming on, which means we're going to need more resources to be able to financially support these people. But we're going to see a tremendous outgrowth of what God's doing. And I think some of these revivals that are happening on college campuses should give us hope and give us excitement. And to see some of that even happen on a high school and junior high and elementary level as well. So that's what I'm going to see. So start praying with me. Everyone at Harbor Light, if you're a Harbor Lighter, please start praying. Anybody that's a more podcast person, just start praying. There's a building right next door that we believe that God wants us to have for this big new surge that we're going to have. So start praying for the VFW hall that God opens that door.
Yeah, that's sort of like a linchpin for the growth that will happen, because it's a huge opportunity for us.
Yep.
It's right on our campus, basically. It's right next. It's the same color as our building. I mean, I don't know if God's like we did that on purpose.
We did that on purpose.
Yeah. We just started praying about it.
Yep.
So it's an exciting thing. And so, I think you're right. We need to be praying about this. And, I think growth sometimes is sometimes a little frustrating, sometimes confusing, just as part of the nature of the whole thing. But at the same time, you just embrace it, enjoy it. Be like our predecessors who were flexible enough to see this ministry where it is today, where they were willing to move from another building to the next building or build what needs to be here right now.
Right.
Those things are important. And so, I think Pastor Dave DeRoche used to say, blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be broken. Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely, a key phrase for us as we're moving forward is, God help us be a flexible community and allow God to use us and be a part of it. No is easy to say, because that you don't have to be committed to anything then, but yes is more of a challenge.
I love that, man. You know what Holy Spirit just said to me when you said that?
What?
No is easy, but it can be very expensive.
Yeah.
Long-term expensive. If you say no to the wrong thing, it can really cost you.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Wow.
That's good.
Somebody should write that one down.
You should. I think it's a sermon waiting for you to preach. Okay. The last question I wanted to ask you is, how are we going to do this? Mm-hmm. Literally. I mean, I'm talking about nuts and bolts. How are we going to do this? I mean, it's great we have a vision and God's given you something that's important for us to do as a community, but how are we really going to do this?
Well, we're going to start with prayer. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we're going to get that prayer room. It's starting to now come around the final bend where we're going to start throwing some drywall and some carpet on the in that room. It's going to come together.
Yeah.
And we're going to start praying this thing into existence. And then we're going to really start kind of casting that vision out there so that people can get behind it, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm a firm believer in having a good, solid plan so that we can move forward. And because when we make the vision simple, those that read it can run with it.
Yeah.
Right. I want to be able to make it super simple and put those practical steps together so that people can read the vision, read what our goals are, and then grab a hold of it and say, how can I help make this happen?
Yeah. And definitely, too, I mean, another basic practical thing is, if you have not been a regular giver to the church, now's a good time to understand that blessing and the principle in Scripture is to give. Mm-hmm. It's something that, at least in my lifetime, it's been a process of me understanding how that works. Mm-hmm. I've always been, I think, pretty much a faithful giver, but at the same time, understanding that principle is so important that, a lot of us are willing to give up our time because it's an easy thing to extend. It's an easier thing to do because, we can allot that time. But when you start talking about money, that's when people get a little nervous. It's like, you want us to give what we have for whatever.
Can I tell you a core value that we have here at Harbor Light? One of the things is about giving.
Yeah.
My dad, he would say, listen, things are really tight right now.
Mm-hmm.
Who can we bless?
Yeah.
Who can we bless?
Yeah.
What can we plant into somebody else's life that we need the harvest?
Yeah.
Right. It really kind of ruffles a lot of people's feathers, right?
Yeah.
But there were times when you can give towards what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people don't always get that principle, don't understand it, but it's a very well-known principle in Scripture. It's over and over again. The apostles talk about it. The Old Testament talks about it. It's not something that we just come up with, off the top of our head, and it's just the knee-jerk reaction to try to get money into the building. This is something that blesses you more than it blesses anyone else, because God sees your sacrifice and then uses you as a vessel, and that's really, like you said, that's what you want to be, is that conduit for God to do more things. And, the thing that I've learned over the years is that, that money I'm holding on to for whatever it is short-lived, right? Because I attain whatever I want and that's it, we're done. But when you give to the kingdom, it seems like it becomes more than what it was before. It changes a life. It helps something. It makes something happen. And the more you do that, it's amazing how God begins to bless you as a conduit, because he sees you as the potential to be that blessing. You're not one of those people that holds tightly to what they have, and God begins to just really bless you. And I've heard that story over and over again, especially in our church. The Monti family is one of the big contributors with our church, and have been faithful to this ministry since the beginning. And I really believe that a lot of their success happened because of their lifestyle.
Oh, 100%.
They give. And if you ever met them, you would not know that these people own all these companies and that they have all these things and resources. But they've given to missions, to this church, to the people all the time. That's just one example. We got hundreds of examples in this church where people are starting to do that, and they see the return, not because they're expecting it, because God sees them as a safe investment, somebody that is going to do what he needs them to do. Yeah, and I think it's just a beautiful thing. And I think people in the church, especially the younger ones that are millennial age, people that are just starting out in their careers, don't get so tightly to hold tightly to what you have as being the priority for your life. Begin to find out what this resource can do for God. And when you do that, it's amazing how God says, hey, you know what? That $10 that you just gave in the offering is actually going to change his life here, or do this or do that.
Right.
And that should be more of a rewarding aspect of your Christian journey than anything else. Because it's short-lived. I mean, I was just watching a documentary on what's the quarterback, the real famous one. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But anyways, the quarterback was sharing about his life, and he's like, you know what? I've got all this money. My wife left me. I don't have a great relationship. He was in the Buccaneers.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Thank you. And
This is recent?
This is recent. Well, it might have been recent, but it was just in a documentary I found on one of our channels we were listening to. And he was talking about how his life is just like garbage. He just doesn't have any joy. And he's trying to figure out what he's going to do in his life. Now he's getting into his latter part of his 40s. And, he even started talking about, spiritual things. He's like, maybe that's what I need to start focusing on, or whatever. But the fact is that, just because you have all this stuff, it's not going to, give you this life that you think you've always wanted.
Like we really talked about on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
The difference between success and being significant, and
right,
having a life of significance.
And you guys talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, and I gave the quote right from the end of the Schindler's List movie.
Yeah, I love that quote, yeah. And that's a life worth living.
Right.
And just like I even talked about the week before when you guys were out, talked about what are we going to write for our memoir? What are the last words that you want people to know about your life? You can give a whole list of things you've accomplished, but the only thing that really matters most is, does God see me as a life worth lived? That I do exactly what he wanted? So that's important. Well, do you have any wrapped up questions for us? Because we're at the end of our time here.
No, I think we're ready to go. Please come out. This is going to be airing on Thursday.
Yeah.
So come out tomorrow night, Friday night, to Harbor Light from 7 to 9 p.m. We have Stephen Wilson coming.
That's right,
in,
yeah.
And it's going to be really powerful. I really encourage you. Come on out and be a part of what is culture, and Christians interacting with culture, and how we can get ready for the weekend, of course. Then he'll speak again on Sunday morning. What does it look like when Christians blend into culture?
Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, after the service, Q&A, special interview time, luncheon in the Solid Rock Center cafeteria.
He's a smart guy.
He is. I really, 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 really was impressed when he was here last year.
Yeah, he challenged me a lot, and I felt inadequate in the conversations I've had with him, because he's such a theologian, I just kept my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want to show all my cards. So, well, that's it for us. We look forward to seeing you next week. Get a chance to answer that question. And remember, the big question is happening next week. So be prepared. Some of you guys got your names in there quite a few times. So good luck to you. Oh, I shouldn't say good luck, right? That's not good. What should I say?
God's blessings.
God's blessing. Yeah, there you go. Well, great. I'm going to get Twitters about that. Talk to you later.
We want you to know, find, discover, change with us. More podcast ending transmission. Now.